Badman yells. A certain class of chant-like yells, emphasizing the badness of the man yelling them, belongs to the lore of the bad man. I suppose, though, oftener than not they originated in the spirit of mockery. The cowboy liked to yip them out when he was playing a bad man, for the cowboy was truly the playboy of the Western world. Here is a yell that hard customers from the country of Harrisburg and Houston used to give 50 years ago. My father, who was a very quiet man, used to quote it to enforce his contempt for the fly up the creeks, from whom he learned it. Raised in a canebrake, fed in a hog trough, suckled as a she-bear, click of a six-shooter is music in my ear. Whoopee! Farther up the creek you go, the worse they get, and I come from the head of it. Whoopee! Another boast, adapted to a Texas river, was as follows. Born high up on the Guadalupe, raised in a thorny prickly pear, quarreled with the alligators and fought the grizzly bears. H.F. Sowell, who knew Texas frontier life, as few men who have written of it, says that in the Rangers and Pioneers of Texas, San Antonio, 1884, page 330, occasionally in some western village you will hear the voice ring out the night the words, something like these: wild and woolly, hard to curry, raised a pet but gone wild, walked the Chisholm Trail backwards, fought Indians and killed a buffalo, hide out little ones, and then you may expect a few shots from a revolver. It is a cowboy out on a little spree, and likely he will not hurt anyone, but some friend who is sober generally comes to him and relieves him of his pistol, and all is soon quiet again. Sowell adds that such yelling cowboys were exceptions. Human man-eaters. Pseudo-badmen of the "I eat humans for breakfast" kind functioned in the presence of tenderfoots by fierce looks and snorts, by savage remarks, and sometimes by the recital of speeches ferocious in phrase and committed to memory. These men would wild up whenever they obtained the impressionable audience, and then their braggadocio often was picturesque, even though made up at the least of the parted strings of stereotyped Western anecdotes. Old harmless Jim, when his cups were fervently relate, I'm the toughest, wildest killer in the West. When I'm hungry, I bite off the noses of living grizzly bears. I live in a box canyon where everybody is wild and shoots so much they fills the air plumb with lead, and there ain't no much air to breathe. Further up the canyon you goes, the wilder the people gets, and I live at the very top end. Whoop! If tenderfoots continued their presence, Jim would persist in the strain, and perhaps because of him, a diary or two would receive an entry. Saw today a real Western bad man. He carried two large revolvers in holsters which hung just above the knee. This marks as being one of the called two-gun men. The person totes weapons low. If only Westerners were auditors, Jim would soon quit his oratory to give sleep and snore himself to peaceability. Bill, when occasionally beset, would announce, I live in Jack County, Texas. There's where the human man-eaters come from, and I'm one of 'em. Every person they don't take no fancy to is drug out and scalped alive. My hum range is so plumb full of murder and sin and hell ain't won't be treat me. He, too, presently would cease his clatter and would slumber back to sobriety. This Bill and this Jim and the other men of their type had no wish to try it out with any real Westerner, for it was a foregone conclusion as to which side in such a contest would weaken, back down, and pull out. The actual bad man was short on conversation. He spoke infrequently, and when he opened his mouth, what he said was to the point. He usually talked in quiet tones, for his nerves was always well in hand. His nerves had to be thus in order for him to do the jobs which he was essayed. The Boasting, Drunken Dodge. When a group of cowboys reached Dodge City from Texas, they had not slept in a bed for months, nor had they shaved or enjoyed a hot bath or a haircut. Their clothing was dirty and often ragged. They had not seen a woman perhaps for half a year. The saloons in Dodge would never shut their doors. On the opening day, the proprietor always threw away the keys. The red lights in back of the saloons beckoned. First the cowboys got rid of their extra hair, bought new outfits of clothing, and then they tanked up. They were ready to go. Some were quiet with dissipation, others talked, perhaps to keep up their courage, as does the boasting drunk. Dodge was the toughest town known in 1883. Raced on six-shooters till I got big enough to eat ground shotguns. When I'm cool, I'm warm in the Gulf of the Bay wherein. When I'm hot, there's an equinoctial breeze that fans me fevered brow. The moans of widows and orphans is music to my melancholy soul. Me, the boy that chewed the wad goat, and eat the butted of the goat off the bridge. Born in the Rocky Mountains, suckled by a grizzly bear, and 99 rows of jaw teeth and not a single hair. 32 inches twin the eyes, and they fed me with a shovel. Mount his wild ass and keep the crag from crag, and they roar like laughter in a tomb. Jump from precipice to precipice and back to pots again. Snatched and bold-headed and spit on the place where the hair come off. Take a leg off him and beat him over the head with the bloody end of it. Slap his head up to a peak and knock down the peak off. Take his eye out and eat it like a grape. Give me 100-yard start and I'll plumb run the Honolulu without even wetting my feet. Shoulder 500 bushel of shot and wade through solid rocks up to my shoulder blades. Any damn man don't believe it. I'll lick him on a sheep hide and never tromp on the trail. Knock a belch out of him that'll whiz like a nail. Knock a belch out of him longer than a rail. Sharp enough to stick a pig with.